Finance and Administrative Services is now called to order. Will the Chief Advisor please read the roll? Present.
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 Thank you very much. Good afternoon again. Fall. Oh, I'm sorry.
Chair Massey.
Chair Massey.
Oh,
All right. And Chair Massey is here as well.
yes.
Good afternoon again. Fall has come to Chicagoland, and with the landscape coming alive with color, we can also celebrate the continued distribution of the COVID-19 vaccine. According to the COVID dashboard at the City of Chicago, some 58% of Chicagoans have received both doses. 63% have received at least one dose. At the risk of editorializing, I say let's keep that going. I want to welcome everyone to our second in-person committee meeting. It is great to be back. In a moment, Chief Financial Officer Rodriguez will be giving an update on the disbursement of HERF funds, to students. We will also have two presentations today, one on the telework policy and the other on the COVID-19 Governor's Executive Order number 87. We will also review the board reports that will be considered during the October regular board meeting, which will take place later this afternoon at 2 p.m. CFO Rodriguez, you can proceed with your presentation.
Thank you, Trustee Williams. Good afternoon, trustees, chancellor, and officers of the district. Welcome to the October 7th Finance and Administrative Services Committee. I would like to take a few minutes to provide a brief update on the status of the Federal Student Emergency Grants, known as HERF dollars, to continue to support our students throughout the pandemic. Eligible students, including degree-seeking students, adult education students, and students pursuing professional development and career-oriented continuing education courses, will continue to receive communication reminders to apply for the emergency grants. As of September 24th, I'm happy to report that we have dispersed 100% of the $12.7 million that was allocated from the second round of stimulus funding to nearly 15,000 students. Additionally, we just started dispersing from the third round of student emergency grants this fall. As of today, we've dispersed $7.4 million to over 9,000 students. Today in committee, we will hear about the implementation of the State of Illinois COVID vaccine or test mandate from leadership in our administrative services, HR, student services, and security teams. Provost Potter and Chief Talent Officer Dunning will provide an overview of the telework policy before the committee today. As you will see from today's report, despite the ongoing pandemic, City Colleges continues to make strong progress to help our students fulfill their goals and create an inclusive Chicago. Thank you. With that, I'll turn it back to Trustee Williams.
Thank you, CFO Rodriguez. We will now move on to review the items proposed for board action at the October regular board meeting, which will take place after this meeting at 2 p.m. Pardon me. Will the Chief Advisor please proceed? Okay, I'm sorry. Let us, I got a little ahead of myself. We have two presentations, and let us start with the presentation on the telework policy.
So, good afternoon, trustees. We're pleased to be here today to offer a preview of a telework policy that you'll be considering as part of the agenda items for the board under consideration today. First, I want to ground this policy in our strategic framework for city colleges. As a reminder to the trustees, I believe you're all aware that in our strategic framework, we have 6 levers that correspond to 6 core values that you can see. And it's really important, I think, to note that the values guided the decision-making process around this policy. Specifically, the values, the core values of equity and being equitable, and also ensuring a healthy institution. Now, these core values, of course, are not completely separate from each other, and there is overlap, and you could make an argument also, and you'll see as we go into the presentation, that being student-centered also was certainly a consideration for this telework policy. And with that said,
Hi, good afternoon. So there are 3 categories of the new telework policy, and this is a new permanent policy replacing the temporary one that's in effect until October 31st. The first parameter is, or eligibility, is remote positions. These are positions that are 100% remote. Course modality, which is people that are online live only, and non-bargain for exempt employees. And this has the extra criteria of you have to be an employee for 6 months before telework is offered to you, with a few exceptions.
thinking about those values that we connected the decision-making to in this policy, I want to talk a little bit about the impact that we foresee on the institution, on our employees, on the students as well, as we implement this policy pending your approval. So one of our goals was to continue and build upon the innovation that we put in place in the course of the pandemic, in large part as an emergency response, but that we saw help students, not only in the midst of the pandemic, but as a potential to help students coming out of the pandemic as well. We saw a lot of positive student response to our online live modality that we moved a number of our courses into at the beginning of the pandemic. These are synchronous online courses that provide regular engagement with faculty and the convenience of being able to take the class online from one's home. As we build out the spring schedule to provide you with sort of a vision for the future, we are emphasizing student choice across modalities so that students have the flexibility to build a schedule and make that choice of whether they will be coming to school on campus for in-person face-to-face courses or be able to benefit from the convenience of online live instruction. And wanting to preserve that choice for students partly informed this policy to enable us to continue providing it. And it's not just the faculty who are assigned to online live courses. We have a full suite of supports that enter into courses. That's true in the face-to-face modality. We want to make sure that that's true in the online live modality as well. I'm thinking in terms of embedded tutors. I'm thinking in terms of sign language interpreters for students with that accommodation. I'm thinking in terms of note takers, which is also an added support for students with that particular accommodation. Also, in that category of wanting to maintain innovation from the pandemic, we want to continue, or we want to build upon what we've been doing and provide remote library services through a chat function that librarians implemented over the course of the last year and a half. And we want to begin providing remote tutoring services both before regular hours in the morning and after hours in the evening. This telework policy will enable us to operate in all of these areas remotely for the benefit of students. And here we see that value of equity being really critical in our decision-making process, because we know that our students have very busy lives, they have a lot of responsibilities and pressures. And this is a way to ensure access to necessary support for our students.
The other impact on City College is related to the employees, and it's allowing us to maintain and obtain qualified and experienced employees that will allow us to continue these initiatives and also stay competitive in this very changing climate. Anybody have any questions on that? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next presentation is on Executive Order number 87.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is David Anthony. I'm the Associate Vice Chancellor for Administrative Services. I'm joined today by Chief Talent Officer Carol Dunning, AVC of Advising and Student Success Stephanie Craw, and Milton Owens, Executive Director of Safety and Security. Whoop, there we go. We want to start today with a brief overview of what Executive Order number 87 says. We'll talk about what that means for our employees and students. We'll talk about what happens if they do not comply and the consequences of not following the processes that we'll outline for you today. And lastly, we'll go through in some detail what we do in the event that someone does test positive on campus and give you an overview of the contact tracing process. Go slower this time. Executive Order number 87, COVID-19 Executive Order number 1987, was signed by Governor Pritzker on August 26th of this year. And it is a vaccinate or test mandate for all higher education students and personnel. So we are not mandating that everyone get vaccinated, but if they choose not to get vaccinated, then they must test for COVID-19 at a minimum on a weekly basis. If they do not do that, the executive order requires us to exclude them from the premises. This mandate, though, does not apply to those students and employees who are working online only. It also does not apply to people who only come in for very short periods of time and people who can avoid close contact when they do come in. I will now turn it over to Dr. Craw.
Good afternoon, everyone. So as it relates to our compliance processes, we do have processes in place for individuals to provide proof of vaccination. And so we have those processes available for students electronically by uploading their vaccine card to the student portal. We wanted to do that because we know that students are coming coming on and off campus at different times, and trying to make sure they identify a person to show that card to was going to be a little bit more complex. So we have provided the opportunity for them to upload it on my.ccc.edu. And also recently we were able to make that available for employees as well, for them to upload their cards. And so cards are reviewed, and when folks upload it, then they'll be able to return to the portal within 2 business days to check the status. The status would be either approved or denied. denied. A way or a reason why someone's denied is because they don't have the appropriate number of doses of the vaccine reflected. There could be some scratch-offs or different things that makes it difficult for us to confirm that that person is indeed the employee or the student connected to that card. To make this a little bit easier for individuals that have any sort of digital literacy issues or individuals, for instance, in our adult education program that may not access our portal often, we have provided special assignment for some of our adult educators to be at all of our CCC locations, seeing the cards and being able to document students having shown their card so that they can be considered as in compliance. Okay, next slide. Of course, the other aspect is testing options. So there are a wide array of testing options. As of Monday, we've enhanced our options to where on each of our CCC campuses, 8 hours a day, both we have daytime hours and evening hours throughout the week for individuals to test at our CCC campuses. We wanted to make sure that accessibility to testing was not a reason for non-compliance. So we've expanded that. The tests are available for no cost, at no cost to the employee or student. And then another aspect of this is that we understand that even with those times we provided on campus, there still could be accessibility challenges. So we've made it available for individuals to test at a third party. You can test at any third-party medical professional, so CVS, Walgreens, or a doctor's office or whatnot, and you can upload those test results on the portal as well. So once again, we wanted to make sure that folks, if they couldn't come on campus or if they only go to classes or work on the weekends, they could test at an off-site location, and they must upload that test result during that week to be considered compliant. Do next slide. Here are the testing, or here's the testing schedule that's available. As you can see, we have expanded those hours all the way up to 8 p.m. So from 12 to 8 on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, and then Mondays and Thursdays, it's 9 to 5. And then we also have opportunities at the satellite locations. One of the things that I do want to note is that if individuals test at the CCC site, they do not have to upload their test results into the portal. It's only if they test off-site that they would need to upload those results in the portal, because we receive that information of folks that do test on site, and then we're able to do appropriate compliance. Next slide. So program enforcement, from the student perspective, if we have students that are considered non-compliant, and what that means, as we've said before, is the student has not uploaded their vaccine card to be considered exempted from testing, or they did not participate in testing for that week, they would be considered as having been non-compliance to Section 8.30 of our Student Code of Conduct, which this particular code, as you can see, speaks to health and safety, and that pretty much not being in compliance is a violation of ensuring health and safety on the City Colleges of Chicago campuses. And so that could be, this would be the conduct violation we would use if a student is non-compliant. And here we have 4 levels of enforcement. So with level 1, if an individual misses the first 2 screenings, they will receive an email reminder. We understand that students may not be checking their email often, but we've sent these messages out continuously, as well as placed this information on prepared.ccc.edu. So they will receive an email reminder of testing expectations. Level 2 of missed screenings, they've missed their 3rd and 4th screenings. This will begin the stronger disciplinary action. So there will be a written warning that is sent to the students, and their Dean of Student Services will also receive a copy and list of students that are non-compliant. And then level 3, when they've missed their 5th and 6th screening, that moves to an administrative hearing. And so within the disciplinary, just for context, within the student disciplinary process, you have to have a hearing of some sort before you could take any sort of action of suspension or ultimately like an expulsion. So that's the reason why with level 3, we have that there's an administrative hearing with the Dean of Students or designee. And if there's continued failure to comply, then after that 7th time, a student would be suspended for the remaining of the term, and they would lose access to classes and facilities. And so I'll pass it now to Chief Talent Officer Dunning for the employee. Oh, yes, sir.
So are these what, these screenings for people who are not vaccinated?
Yes, sir.
Who
So
tested, okay.
not vaccinated. So only if you are not vaccinated, then you're required to do the weekly testing. Thank you.
I have a question as well. If the student has done a mixture of in-person and online learning, and they go through this protocol, and they reach the 7th incident, and they're no longer allowed to be on the facilities, do they continue to be allowed to do their classes online?
No, all classes, they would be suspended from all classes, and that's consistent with our current student conduct process overall, that when a student is suspended due to violating the code of conduct, they would lose access to all facilities and classes regardless of how they're receiving those services or enrolled.
I have a question too, sir. So, I know it's once a week, you said that, right, that your expectation, but so if they miss week one, is it, you're trying to get them tested that same week? So meaning like, is the 7th, you have 7 weeks from that first time? So are they continuing to be in classes for over a month, even though they're not screening? Or is it that your first, because I said it's email reminder with testing expectations, I guess maybe a little bit more on testing, is it to get them in as soon as possible to get that screening?
Yeah, it's encouraging them to make sure that, like, for instance, this week we are, so we're on Thursday. So by Saturday at 11:59 at night, not that I'm gonna look at my email, Mark, but but I'm gonna receive a report from OIT. They have it set up to where I'll receive a list of who all submitted vaccine cards or testing results for the week since this whole past week. And then we'll also receive a report from North Shore Labs that will tell us everyone who's tested. I will then merge those reports and be able to say, these are the students that were non-compliant for the week past. So I would send a notification to them on Monday to say you were non-compliant for week 1. So that's your first incident. You need to test week 2 to not move to that next non-compliance. So it's every incident. So let's say that they do go ahead and test week 2, but then they don't test week 3. We're tracking like the number of incidents of missed tests. So while we want we want someone to be consecutively complying, it is possible that someone may test week 2, 3, 4, and then all of a sudden they don't test week 5 for some reason. Then they would have their second incident of missed testing. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, no problem.
Are there any services for the students who don't have access to their emails? So there are students in the adult education department, they are communicating with their instructor from their private emails. So they don't have access to their CCC's emails, so they are not getting this information.
Yes, so what we've done is that we have provided what's called a special assignment for adult educators. So we have adult educators and additional staff at each campus that has set up tables so that if there are any adult ed students who need to show their card or test results for the week, they can provide that to that designated person. So we're working with the adult education program to where there would be announcements with the classes, with the instructors to say, hey, okay, we have this kind of work time. If you need to go and connect with so-and-so, please do so now. Then there's a documentation, and then we track that on our side. So that was one of the reasons why we wanted to have another opportunity because we knew our adult ed students, many of them don't access the portal or their email. So we provided that in-person option for them. No problem.
So I was just going to say ditto and try and save time, because Dr. Carl and I, throughout the whole process, we have tried to be as consistent as we can with how we treat students and how we treat employees. And that's why the screen difference is really just in the color of the header, because we also have a 4-level approach with employees. The first 2 occurrences, they get an email reminder, very nice little email reminder. And then when we get to the second level, they get a written warning, at which point, if it's applicable, the unions get involved and supervisors and deans are informed. Because when they get to the fifth occurrence, then they are suspended, unpaid suspension for 1 week. And it's always 1 week in every situation. And that happens for the fifth and sixth occurrence. And then, of course, if we get to the seventh, then they're terminated from employment.
This is Trustee Kelman. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Is there an exemption for medical or religious reasons?
Yes.
For both the students and the faculty?
Yes, for students and for employees, they can obtain a exemption for medical or religious reasons through our EEO office.
And then if they have an exemption, what happens? Are they still allowed to come into the classroom and teach? And the same thing with the students. What does that mean then? Or is there some other accommodation that we will make?
It depends on what they're asking for. If they're asking for a full exemption, and it's granted, then they just don't have to do it. So they are allowed to come in and teach or attend class or whatever. They still have to follow all the guidelines and rules, mask wearing, things like that, but they are not required to test if they receive those exemptions.
Okay.
Or
But they're not allowed to work, they're not permitted to work remotely, you know, if it's an employee or faculty or if it's a student. So they're not allowed to attend classes remotely?
Well, sorry, depends on, and that's what I meant by, it depends on what they're asking for. If they are asking for an exemption from testing and or vaccination, that's what's granted. We also have a medical accommodation that they're allowed through the ADA that would allow them in some cases to remote work. All of these are done on a case-by-case basis.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that was part of the process, that we were able to accommodate those who have a valid medical or religious exemption.
Absolutely.
Okay, we will and have unfortunately had cases where people do test positive and they have been on campus. So we'll spend a few minutes going through what we do in those instances. I will just highlight that we have been provided a protocol, a list of questions and information that's needed from the Chicago Department of Public Health. That protocol has evolved a little bit over time as the CDC has understanding of the virus has changed. And we change our questions and actions along with those changes as guided by the CDPH. When it does happen, it's critical that we respond as rapidly as possible. We know that a key to getting through the pandemic is keeping people from exposing other people. And in the vast majority of cases, Milton and the team of security directors have been able to respond and close out all these cases within a 24-hour period. They all work to maintain the confidentiality of the person who does have COVID-19. And to close out all those cases, they provide written guidance with return information to the person with COVID-19 and to any close contacts, if there were close contacts in the case, with information provided to the relevant HR business partner or dean of students so that appropriate support can be given to either the student or the employee. We close out with an announcement to the college, and data on all of our cases is published weekly on prepare.ccc.edu. And so I'll turn it over to Milton now, and he'll walk you through the case protocol.
Yeah, good afternoon. We're going to discuss today the 3 steps that are related to contact tracing. Our support begins when we're notified by North Shore, Student Services, or HR, that someone has tested positive for the COVID virus. We reach out to that person to conduct an interview to see if they were infectious while they were on campus. That period is defined as being the day that the test was administered or 2 days before symptoms started. If we establish that that person was infectious on campus, we move over to step number 2, identifying close contacts. 2 important points that I want to identify here is that we interview the person to establish if they were within 6 feet of the infected person and if that was 15 minutes or more. We also look at the days that the infected person was on campus. We ask them about classes that they attended, meetings that they attended, their breaks that they may have had, or any other interactions they may have had on campus to establish if close contact exists. If that, occasionally we may have to do measurements. We have actually go into spaces and do measurements to have an accurate reading as to whether that was close contact or not. If we establish, in fact, that that was close contact, we move to the next step, which is notifying. When we notify someone that they've been in close contact, we simply tell them, on March the 3rd, you had close contact with someone who tested positive for the coronavirus. Because of confidentiality, we can't share any additional information. Then we ask the person about their vaccination status and their symptom status. If they're fully vaccinated, meaning that they received their second dose of a vaccine in the 2-dose series 2 weeks past, then that's considered to be fully vaccinated. We also ask them about their symptom status. If they're asymptomatic, not experiencing any COVID-like symptoms, they don't have to quarantine. If they are fully vaccinated but experiencing COVID-like symptoms, they have to quarantine for 14 days from the date of contact. If they're not vaccinated, regardless of whether they're experiencing symptoms or not, they have to quarantine for 14 days from the date of contact. After that, we complete a summary report. That report is then given to CDPH for review and guidance. Regardless of the vaccination status, what we tell people that it's recommended to test 3 to 5 days after contact, and that we encourage them to consult with their medical care provider for guidance. We also remind them of the CCC face mask covering policy.
That's what we have today. Are there any other questions?
Hearing no other questions, thank you all. Oh, I'm sorry.
I just wanted to, because I've been, closely working with this team, I really do want to point out, and I know that's where you were going, Trustee, with thanking the team. But I want to put some context in it. While Dr. Craw, was speaking about getting the email at 11:59 at night on a Saturday, this team has been working, all around the clock, right? In order to get this system right. I was talking to Milton the other day, and the calls that we get for contact tracing, they come at any time. They come 7 days a week. And, this team is picking up those calls and acting upon them 24/7, literally, okay, in order to meet the objectives of, what was presented today, okay? So I really want the board and the CCC community, to understand the thoughtfulness and the seriousness for which we are taking this. We have been taking this from day one, but also the just immense effort that the people behind this have put into the overall effort. So just wanted to make sure I expressed that, gratitude and put this in context.
Thank you, Chancellor, and I agree with everything that you said. This is terrific work, and not just to respond to the executive order, but the larger mission of keeping students, faculty safe. And so I applaud the effort. Okay, now we will move on to review the items proposed for board action at the October regular board meeting, which will take place after this meeting at 2 p.m. Will the chief advisor please proceed with the review of board reports?
Thank you, Trustee Williams. For our presenters, please proceed one after the other, briefly pausing to give the trustees an opportunity to ask any questions they have about the items being presented. We will begin with the resolutions. ABC Anthony will review Resolution 1.00. Provost Potter will review Resolutions 1.01 and 1.02. President Sanders will review Resolution 1.03. VC Williams will review Resolution 104. CTO Dunning will review Resolution 105. Resolutions 106 and 107 will be reviewed after closed session.
Resolution 1.00 requests the board's authority to amend an existing trust agreement with the Illinois Capital Development Board to undertake a project to replace the fume hoods at Olive Harvey College. Based on public bids received by the CDB, the total project cost estimate is revised to $835,500, and additional funds are required for the project. This resolution requests the authority to add CCC funds in the amount of $335,500 for a total not to exceed CCC contribution of $460,500 for the fume hood replacement project.
Resolution 1.01 is our regular twice-yearly resolution for renewal and non-renewal of non-tenured full-time faculty. The faculty under consideration today are our spring hires from the last 3 years. This resolution includes 3 renewals, inclusive of renewals from the first year to the second year and from the second year to the third year, 12 affirmative tenure decisions, 2 extensions, and 2 non-renewals. As a refresher or to share with newer board members, during the first 3 years of a full-time faculty member's appointment, contract renewal is on a yearly basis until, following the 3rd successful year, tenure is achieved. Full-time faculty participate in a rigorous, though supportive, tenure assistance program that includes required mentoring, participation in seminars, and the completion of an independent learning and service plan. Ultimately, faculty are expected to demonstrate growth and meet expectations in what we call the 5 talents of teaching, which really speak to the desired attributes of a teacher-scholar. The rigor of the renewal and tenure process derives from both the standards themselves and from the joint faculty administration oversight that is in place. The annual review process begins at the department with faculty involvement and goes ultimately to the college president. Each college has a tenure coordinator, what we call a TAP coordinator, to support the process, and those 7 coordinators work closely with district leaders in academic and student affairs. And this setup ensures that processes are followed and standards are adhered to, and numerous checks leading directly to my office ensure the integrity of the process. Resolution 1.02 is for approval of an intergovernmental agreement with the Illinois Department of Transportation's Highway Construction Careers Training Program and Dawson Technical Institute of Kennedy King College. Sponsored by IDOT, the program at Dawson has trained 30 to 40 students per year for highway construction careers. The program, which is free to students, is comprised of 16 weeks of courses, during which students earn construction carpentry, forklift, and Flagger and OSHA certifications. This IGA is for 1 year through June 30th, 2022, and IDOT agrees to provide up to $382,420 for use in connection with the program.
Resolution 1.03 is a request for the board to approve and ratify an agreement with the University of Illinois Chicago to provide a pathway for prospective high school, current MXC students, and MXC graduates and alumni to obtain a Bachelor's of Science in Nursing at a reduced cost. Qualified students are allowed to take up to 3 courses while completing the MXC Associate Degree Program. This is a long overdue opportunity for Malcolm X graduates to be positioned to be hired by magnet hospitals who require a BSN while they're in the process of obtaining their BSN degree.
Resolution 1.04, request board authority for an intergovernmental agreement with the State of Illinois Department of Central Management Services for the Upward Mobility Program. City Colleges of Chicago's participation in this program means that the state employee can enroll in classes at any of our city colleges for no cost to themselves, and the state agrees to pay City Colleges of Chicago the standard tuition rates for those courses. This program is designed so that state employees have opportunities to work toward more challenging and higher paying positions. This agreement is for a period of 1 year and extends our participation in the program to June 30th, 2022.
Resolution 1.05 is for the approval of a new telework agreement that was presented earlier. This agreement goes into effect on November 1st, 2021. The agreement allows for teleworking for remote positions, course modality, and for non-bargain for exempt employees. This agreement will allow us to continue and build upon innovations that were developed during the stay-at-home period of the pandemic and also assist in maintaining and obtaining qualified and experienced employees.
Thank you, CTO Dunning. Please review item 2.00, the personnel report.
Board item 2.0 is a request to approve the October 2021 personnel report. There are 124 actions on this month's report. They include 29 new and rehires, 43 promotions, title, and salary changes, and 52 separations and retirement. This concludes the report.
Thank you. CSO Herrera, please review the resource development report.
The October Resource Development Report includes grants funded and received and grant applications submitted during the months of August and September 2021. We had a total of 20 funded grants for City Colleges of Chicago, totaling $15,468,680. And we had 22 grant applications submitted for a total of $10,260,850. Included in the 20 grants awarded are the Governor's Emergency Education Relief Fund grants, or GEAR 2 grants, totaling $2.1 million across the district. You may recall that we received GEAR 1 grants in 2 installments, one in October 2020 and May 2021. The GEAR 2 funds are federal funds administered by the state through the Illinois Community College Board, ICCB. The ICCB calculates the funds by college by Pell headcount, based on Pell headcount, and the funds are then spent at the district level. These funds are provided for 2 key areas of focus: academic support and social emotional support. And up to 20% of this funding from these 2 areas of focus can be used to implement the Executive Order number 87, which we heard about earlier today, and mandates vaccines for higher ed personnel and students. CCC has proposed the budget that reflects these areas of focus. And before I conclude my report, I would like to highlight and celebrate the work of our colleagues across our 7 colleges. The vast majority of the nearly $15.5 million awarded over the past couple of months has been driven by our college teams. In particular, the team at Malcolm X raised $10 million in new multi-year grants to support their work in the STEM fields, which is incredible. And I would like to invite President Sanders and Vice President Webb Walker to say a little more about these exciting grants.
Good afternoon, Chair Massey, Vice Chair Swanson, Secretary Davis, and members of the trustee board and Chancellor Salgado, officers of the district. We appreciate this opportunity to present some of the grant work that's being done in Mount Mexico. Approximately 1 year ago, our leadership team looked at our strategic, STEM, and equity plans
accomplish very lofty goals. Thank you. While Chancellor Salgado has been very supportive of Malcolm X College and our efforts to address access, persistence, retention, completion, transfer, and job placement, we realized that we needed additional funds to achieve our stated objectives. Through an innovative partnership with the Office of Institutional Advancement under the leadership of Vice Chancellor Rhonda Brown, we developed a local grants office at Malcolm X College, hired an excellent young man named Daniel Weil to lead this work, and strategically and collaboratively engage targeted grant opportunities that would impact our demographics, our communities, expand our diversity, equity, and inclusion work, address the barriers to success impacting our students, and enhance our efforts to remove inequities that negatively impact our students from successfully completing their educational objectives. The results have been new grants to Malcolm X College totaling more than $12.5 million within 1 year from the inception of the grants office. The two grants we will highlight today are the 2-year Institutional Resilient Expanded Post-Secondary Opportunities Grants, also known as IREPO, for $2.984 million, where Vice President of Academic and Student Affairs, Katanya Webb-Walker, is the author and the PI. You're going to hear from her in just a moment. And then our 5-year METIS, which means goal, HSI STEM grant for $4.1 million. We are unable to publicly discuss our other $3 million grant we received approximately 8 weeks ago, but we will share the information as soon as we are released to do so. If you allow me at this time to present Vice President Katanya Webb-Walker, who will talk to you about our IREPO grant.
Good afternoon, Board of Trustees and officers of the district. As President Sanders mentioned, we received a $2.9 million grant from the Department of Education. This is IREPO, the Institutional Resilience and Expanded Post-Secondary Opportunity Program. So building upon the name of the grant, we established 2 key objectives. The first is resilience, and the second is expanded post-secondary opportunities. With the advent of COVID, we found ourselves propelled really rapidly into the virtual learning space that we were not fully prepared to be in. And so Malcolm X College took the opportunity to leverage these funds to develop our capacity to offer online learning opportunities, not only online live, as we discussed earlier, but our traditional online asynchronous courses. So with these funds, we have determined to develop a minimum of 20 new online courses. The majority of these will be in our health sciences programs, which is our center of excellence. So we will be establishing 2 programs that can be completed fully online in an asynchronous format. It will help us to expand our capacity to service students. We also know that as we establish more programs, we need to make sure that our faculty are prepared to offer these programs in a remote space. So we have established about $100,000 so that all of our full-time faculty will become facile in online learning, and particularly dealing with matters of equity in a virtual learning environment. We have also determined to expand the capacity of our virtual hospital. So we have not been leveraging that space fully in terms of offering IPE, interprofessional experiences with all of our health sciences and nursing programs. So we have purchased new equipment for the virtual hospital, and we will also be providing professional development for these faculty to work together to provide coordinated learning experiences for both health sciences and nursing students. We will also be hiring a full-time simulation education specialist who will work in that virtual hospital with our manager of virtual learning to ensure that we're able to build out curricula and service our equipment. We are also going to be maximizing opportunities in our physical plant. So there's a small pot of money carved out to ensure that we're able to work with our space and ensure that it is ready to receive students as we build up our face-to-face course offerings after COVID. On the flip side, we are going to expand our post-secondary opportunities for CPS students. So we have some funds allocated for our early college efforts. we are going to be hiring 2 new early college coordinators who will work with our Assistant Dean of Early College. And we are also carving out funds for professional development for the faculty at high schools on the west side, specifically in the Opportunity Zone high schools, so that we can ensure that they're fully prepared to teach at the college level. And with that, I will turn it back over to President Sanders.
And briefly, I'm just going to talk about the $4.1 million METIS grant that we received. That grant is to support Hispanic students in graduating with STEM degrees and to develop and enhance our transfer and articulation opportunities with four-year institutions, as well as support student-centered program services and activities that lead to improved student outcomes. Specifically, we will have, for 5 years, a summer student STEM program, and we have dedicated $200,000 for professional development opportunities for faculty and staff across the district. Students will have access to expanded tutoring opportunities. There'll be enhancement to our STEM curriculum to import the most recent and future recommended changes to improve academic outcomes. And we will have course-based undergrad research experiences called CURES, a faculty-based action research practice that incorporates research into the STEM courses. So what will happen in the classroom is that students and the faculty will identify a problem that they want to solve, and they'll do that research within the class. It is our goal that every student who comes to Malcolm X, no matter the race, creed, color, religion, sexual orientation, or background, have the ability to thrive and achieve their educational objectives. These grants highlight and represent a small portion of the opportunities we are engaging in. So I want to make it clear that our grants and scholarship opportunities, which are increasing as well, will support every member of our student body and especially students of color. In addition, we will be partnering with our sister colleges to support students who are touching all of our colleges. Once again, we thank you for this opportunity. Any questions?
I was just going to say congratulations. I mean, it's
Same
exciting.
here.
Yeah, it's
Exactly right.
exciting to hear about the work, and just thank you for all
Super
you're doing.
excited.
Thank you.
Move on to agreement. Please follow. ABC Anthony moves to agreement 4.00 and 4.01. President Lopez will review agreement 4.02, and President Sanders will review agreement 4.03.
Agreement 4.00 requests the board's authority to execute an agreement with Reliable Fire Equipment Company to provide maintenance, recharging, cartridge replacement, and hydrostatic testing for fire extinguishers, as well as inspection and testing of fire suppression systems as needed district-wide for the period of November 1, 2021 through September 21, 2023, at a total cost not to exceed $350,000. Agreement 4.01 requests the board's authority to execute an agreement with Globetrotters Engineering Company to provide structural engineering services, construction documents, and construction administration for elevators at Malcolm X College for a period starting no sooner than October 7, 2021 through November 30, 2023 for a total cost not to exceed $215,000.
Agreement 4.02 is with Catalyte Inc. for the delivery of a training program to develop junior full-stack developers in partnership with Harold Washington College. Catalyte will provide intensive software development training for Harold Washington students as a component of the college's Tech Equity Initiative. With support from the Bank of America grant, students in the program will receive a stipend while training at Catalyte, and students who successfully complete the program are guaranteed employment. Harold Washington College's goal is for 47 students to complete the training program. This agreement is for 3 years through October 31st, 2024, at a total cost not to exceed $188,000, with one option for renewal.
Agreement 4.03 is a request to approve the purchase of a customized and integrated behavioral science-based nudging solution from Persistence Plus at a cost not to exceed $85,000. The solution will allow Malcolm X College to communicate with students via our district-initiated EAB Navigate platform. The solution allows students to be reminded and encouraged to complete critical work or functions in the commission of their academic work. It has proven to increase rates of retention and completion as well as support equitable outcomes.
President Sanders will purchase 5.03 and 5.04.
Purchase 5.00, request the board's authority for the monthly job order contractor construction projects to be performed by the listed contractors. Board reports 33312 and 34029 authorize the utilization of JOC as a construction delivery method to perform renovation services, deferred maintenance, and repairs. This month's report lists 10 projects for a total cost not to exceed $182,897.25. Purchase 5.01, request the board's authority to issue a purchase order to T&J Plumbing to provide all labor and materials to install 2 sinks at the Westside Learning Center from a period starting no sooner than October 7, 2022 through March 31, 2023 at a total cost not to exceed $29,728. The installation of the sinks will allow the conversion of the room into a lab for medical programs. Purchase 5.02, request the board's authority to issue purchase orders on an as-needed basis to production distribution companies to provide filter supplies for heating, ventilation, and air conditioning systems beginning October 7, 2021 through June 30, 2024 at a total cost not to exceed $550,000.
Purchase 5.03 is a request to approve the purchase of an Apollo nursing mannequin from K Healthcare Incorporated at a cost not to exceed $66,470. This mannequin will be used to enhance the experiential learning provided students of the associate degree and practical nursing programs of Malcolm X College. Purchase 5.04 is a request to approve the purchase of a pediatric simulation mannequin from Laerdal Medical Corporation at a cost not to exceed $65,426.73. This mannequin will be used to enhance the experiential learning provided to the students of the Emergency Medical Technician Certificate and degree programs of Malcolm X College.
Item 6.0 requests approval of legal fees totaling $352,227.71. Such fees cover litigation, employment and labor, corporate, and higher education matters.
Thank you. Trustee Williams, can you make a proposal? That concludes the
Thank you, everyone. May I have a motion to discharge the October 7th, 2021 board packet, including the resolutions except for resolutions 1.06 and 1.07, personnel items, research development report, agreements, purchases, and legal invoices, including on today's committee agenda as part of the consent agenda to the October 7th, 2021 regular board meeting.
So moved.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, everyone. Since there is no further business to come before this committee today, May I have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. We are adjourned.